Tell us how your family ended up living in Boley, Oklahoma.
Well, my father moved to Boley, Oklahoma in 1910, and he had been born and lived in Kilgore, Texas, and had been to school at Wiley College in Marshall, Texas. And he had a sawmill in Kilgore, and he had a peach orchard and many things. He was sort of an entrepreneur, and he had some peaches uh, that he was sending out on boxcar, and he sent two men down to load the peaches. And when he got there, they were still sitting down and had not loaded them. And he asked why, and they said there was a white man in the boxcar that said the boxcar was his. And so my father said he went and showed him the bill of lading and told him it was his boxcar. So the man said, I don't let niggas talk to me like that, and I'll jump out there on you. So my father said, jump, and you will never hit the ground alive. So he said, okay, we're going to lynch you tonight. And so that night, my father and his brothers were all on his porch, and he said they rode up and down on horses. And he told them, you can ride up and down as many times as you like, that's a public road. But the first man that turns in my gate is a dead man. So they went on home. And after that, my father said he decided he better move and leave Texas. And Boley had been advertising for people, and they had been established as an Indian territory in 1903, because the state of Oklahoma, Oklahoma became a state in 1907. So I have all the pictures of the men and the names of them who had and that bullet came about because it was a Fort Smith and Western stop, a train, and there were lots of blacks there building railroads. And Mr. Boley was a white man who said he felt that blacks could run themselves, and that's how they named it Boley after him. Uh, so a lot of people came to Boley, and they came from many states. Where their parents had been slaves, or and because they wanted to get away from that and run a town themselves. So in in the 1900s, they had their own water system, which is still existing. The water tower is there. They had a phone system, everything that anybody had. They did not let whites in after dark because there were towns in Oklahoma that did not let blacks in after dark. And if you came in to Boley, you had to have permission. So when my father got to Boley, he found out he couldn't have a sawmill because there was no lumber a lot in Oklahoma. So he opened a cotton gin. And I have a letter that he wrote to one of my older sisters in 1924 where he had baled 900 and some bales of cotton, and he was trying to bale the other 44 by Labor Day. Um, so the cotton gin, there were three cotton gins in Boley, and but when the boll weevil came and ate, destroyed the cotton, that's when the uh, gins were closed. Cotton gins were closed. But this is a paper in September uh, 1920. Uh, and it was $1.50 a year. And the paper came out. And the other paper was called the Bowl of Progress. And the we had the black mayor. Well, everything in Boulder, it was and still is black. Very, very sad town now because there are very few people there, but it remains so. And they have a museum there now with different articles in it and whatnot.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, if you can tell us about all of the things that your father did with regards to the bank and the
Well,
veterinarian.
before he came to Boley, and afterwards, and as you can see from some of the calendars, he was a veterinarian, and when he was licensed as a veterinarian, he had to sit in a room alone when the whites were taking the veterinarian thing. And he said that it was a very simple examination, and that he was through in about 20 minutes, and says the white guys were still there chewing on their pencils 2 or 3 hours later, trying to answer questions. So after he came to Oklahoma, he did still do the veterinarian thing. He also got land, and he had 3 farms when he was there, and different people, and his family worked on them as farms. And he also built a building in Oklahoma, and with the bricks that he made, um, not the concrete bricks, but it had a store in the front, and in the back were the the 4-H agents and people like that, and doctors. And upstairs was a room for big meetings. So he was a very entrepreneur. Then he decided to open a bank, and he had a group. And so this is the bank that he opened, First National Bank in the United States by blacks. Um, and he was the president of that, and ran that. And in the 30s, the banks all closed, because of, and Mr. Turner, who ran the other bank, um, was killed in a bank robbery. Um, and that's been written up a lot in plays about it. And if all of Boley, they sent out an alarm, and all the men came with guns and whatnot, and they were people, Pretty Boy Floyd. I don't know whether you ever heard of Pretty Boy Floyd. They were part of his gang, and they killed one of his men and incarcerated some of the others. Then from after the bank closed, my father sold oil royalties over Texas and Oklahoma for oil wells. Uh, that was the latest thing that he did, other than manage his farms.